From Governor's Comedy Club in Levittown, this is Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com. TicketBash.com, where memories are made affordable and where you'll never pay a service fee. Sports Bash is also presented by the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund, a group of like-minded individuals trying to raise awareness to our future generations of all possibilities of success other than just college. For more information, visit www.lookwhomadeit.org. Sports Bash is brought to you by the Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage. Every customer is considered family. At the Embassy Diner, mention Sports Bash, get a free dessert with your meal. By Living Legends Memorabilia and Collectibles in Rockville Center, Long Island's go-to store for sports, entertainment, and political memorabilia since 1996. They're also available for charity auctions. Mention Sports Bash when you come in. Get a free autographed photo. Give Warren a call at 516-826-4000. Stay tuned later in the show, and you'll find out about the Living Legends item of the week. By Bearcat Billing Service, your trusted partner in medical billing. Experience the Bearcat way, personal, professional, and tailored to your needs. Give Gary a call at 516-796-2400 and tell him Sports Bash sent you. By the Marty Lyons Foundation, the official charity of Sports Bash Media. For more information, go to martylyonsfoundation.org. And by Collaborate Studios, a content marketing production facility. For more info, call them at 516-509-8277. Well, hi again, everyone. I'm Peter Schwartz. Happy holidays to everybody. 516-465-3990 is the number to call. Also, make sure you are subscribing to Govs Comedy Club podcasts on YouTube and following us on Facebook so you can chat along with us on the program if you don't want to dial in. Later in the show, I'll be joined by a legendary Islanders TV voice, Jiggs McDonald. We'll also talk about Brent Sutter going into the Islanders Hall of Fame, the current Islanders, and we'll reminisce about the glory years. I'll also be joined by John Fitzgerald, and congratulations to Fitz earlier today, named the first head coach of American Soccer Club New York, the new pro soccer team here on Long Island that begins play this spring in the NPSL. We'll also play Stump the Wiz. We'll take a look at this week in sports history, and we'll check out the Sports Bash Media poll question of the day. Very excited about today's show. Not only all of that I just talked about, but we have a great in-studio guest. ESPN is going to debut a brand new 30 for 30 on Friday night, and this one hits close to home. It is about the New York Sack Exchange, and I couldn't be happier to have in studio with me former Jets cornerback Bobby Jackson. Bobby, always good to see you, my friend.
Peter, always good to see you too.
Absolutely, and we're color coordinated today. Absolutely. Before we talk about the documentary and what we're going to see in the show, and obviously people who follow the Jets and you follow everything that's going on, everyone's seen the clip with Mark Gastineau and Brett Favre, and we'll get to that. But I wanted to start, and you're wearing, as soon as you walked in, I saw the hat you were wearing, and of course, very, very recently, and we had Marty on the show, Marty Lyons on the show not long ago to talk about the passing of Abdul Salam. But you can't talk about the Sack Exchange without talking about Abdul, and I know his wife, Deborah, is watching the show because Connie Carberg reached out to me last night. How can Deborah watch the show? So I wanted to make sure that she had the link to the program, to the show. But we recently lost Abdul, so it was obviously a very painful moment for anybody associated with the Jets, and I don't think you can start talking about the Sack Exchange really without him because he was so quietly good. And I was just wondering if we could start by getting a few words from you about what Abdul meant, not just for the Jets but to everybody in that locker room and the type of person that he was.
Well, I mean, obviously his name equates to the soldier of peace.
Yeah.
And
how did he get that nickname?
I'm not sure because he was not peaceful at all on the football field. Off the field he was. He was a gentleman all the time, respectfully carried himself. You can see that characteristic with his two boys, and he's sorely missed. By not just myself, a teammate of his, but anyone who can call himself a Jet fan knows that Abdul was the linchpin, in my words, of the Sack Exchange. He was the main
He was kind of the glue. He was kind of the glue because, there were so many different personalities, not just on the Sack Exchange, but the whole defense and really the whole team too. But he's always been, at least a few people have said this to me, that he was just kind of like the glue that when things were kind of getting a little high-spirited and stuff, and, obviously Mark and Joe had their, situations, but he would always be the one that would get in the middle, and maybe that's why he got the nickname Soldier of Peace.
Right. Well, Mark, he was a calming influence for all of us, and the one thing that bothers me about this whole sack exchange thing, first of all, sacks were also the secondary was involved as well.
Of course, I knew you were going to bring that up.
Not myself, because they could not take us out of coverage. I wanted to blitz, but they wouldn't take who would cover my man. So
you went up to Walt Michaels a lot and said,
I said, hey, can you blitz me on, but I always had to be in coverage. But if you know the position that Abdul played, he entertained 2, sometimes 3 people on one play. So if you're double and triple team, that means your best 2 edge rushers, Grieco and Mark, were one-on-one.
Right.
So who's going to be with those guys? Right. I mean, Mark could run almost as fast as me in a sprint.
Yeah.
So I know he got there in a hurry. But the thing is that I saw plays where, and you can look at highlights where he was never singly blocked by anyone. And the thing is, because of the name sack exchange,
right?
You say, well, he didn't have a lot of sacks. Well, that's not the role of his position.
Right.
His position is to occupy a number of people, which he did.
And I remember there was a day at the old place I say the old place. I wish I would just have been Shea, but there was a ceremony at Giant Stadium when the Jets were playing at Giant Stadium where they brought the sack exchange back. And Bob Wischusen, who's the Jets' longtime radio play-by-play announcer, was reading off, I think it was Bob who did, maybe it was Don LaGreca who was the MC of it, I don't remember. But they were reading off the stats and the information about each member of the sack exchange, and they were giving the stats. They were giving, like, Joe Grieco had this number of sacks and Mark Gasto, and then they get to Abdul, and it was only, whatever the number was. And I said, that was just not fair to read all those numbers and not give him the credit, because without him, those guys aren't getting all those sacks.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and if you're a football connoisseur, if you will, if you know the game, you know that those positions, those inside interior linemen don't really get the sacks because it's all clogged up in there, and it's the guys on the end. That's where Lawrence Taylor didn't get all his sacks from the middle, and Strahan didn't get his from the middle either. He got it from the outside.
Right.
So that it's a misnomer. The sack exchange means, everybody had 20 sacks. No, only 2 guys had 20 sacks. The rest of Marty didn't have 20 either.
No.
But he's in, and he deserves to be in for a lot of things, not just his play on the field, but what he's done off the field with his foundation.
So now the hat says Abdul Salam, Jets Ring of Honor. Now, he's the only member of the sack exchange that is not currently in the Ring of Honor. And there's been a lot of discussion. I've had this chat on the show and other platforms that I'm on that Abdul, and this even before he passed away, Abdul needed to be recognized. Exactly. Whether he was honored individually, by himself, or do you put the sack exchange in as one entity into the Ring of Honor? Now all the other 3 are in.
Right.
So there's so much momentum and so much interest by fans. And former players like yourself to get Abdul into the Ring of Honor. Has there been a conversation with Woody Johnson and other powers that be with the Jets? I mean, it's a glaring omission right now.
Well, Woody Johnson is not readily available to everyone. And I've spoken to him. He know who I am. I know who he is, obviously. But it's going to take someone who has his ear, whether that's Marty or Joe Grieco, or Gastineau for that matter. The 3 that are in, I think they should be the primary advocates for having Abdul included in an honor he should have had while he was still alive. Yeah,
I mean, it's a glaring omission, and he should be in. So here at Sports Bash, we are going to carry the banner as best we can. And Wiz, who'll be by later on today with This Week in Sports History, and we play Stump the Wiz today. He is such a Hall of Fame connoisseur. We're going to have to get him on the case as well, and get some more momentum for Abdul Salam to be in the Jets Ring of Honor. So let's talk about what we might see on the show tomorrow night about the sack exchange. I mean, I think for someone like myself as a fan growing up, living it and watching it every day, you were in the locker room every day. What do you think we'll find out? You were there all the time. What do you think the big takeaway from the documentary on ESPN will be about what do we not know about the sack exchange?
The funny part about it, the internal conflicts with the Gastineau's antics with his dancing and how Joe didn't like it. I'm sure he's that's not a secret. I'm sure Marty didn't like it either. The only reason I didn't like it was he never knew what the defensive call was. So my thing was when he did the sack dance, that means he made a sack. Okay, celebrate that, but get back in the huddle and know your defense. That was my only qualm with him, and we're real close. Mark and I are real close.
I heard that. I heard that he would dance so much that he wouldn't get back to the huddle in time to know what the next play call was. But he was still such a dominant player even without knowing what the play call was.
Exactly.
But did that hurt more than it helped?
No, it just kind of divided the players a little bit. That he put too much emphasis on his sack dance as opposed to. That's something that you have to do. Like Joe was a lunch pail guy. He'll make a sack. He go back to the huddle. Let's get it going. But Mark brought more attention to himself with his dancing. So all the players that have something they do today, right?
Right.
It's a team thing. The whole defense goes.
They go over to that camera in the corner there. so every time, right?
Yeah. So I didn't blame him for that. You know what I mean?
Joe Klecko. I can't believe it took so long for him to get into the Hall of Fame. It was. As a fan, it was frustrating, and anybody, even if you weren't a Jet fan, people were always like, "How is this guy not in the Hall of Fame?" He was a Pro Bowler at three different positions, and it took him so long to get in. And I'm sure you're not going to say anything we haven't heard before, but just for the nature of the show, how good was Joe Klecko on and off the field?
He obviously biggest accomplishment, one of them rather, playing for the Jets was being named defensive captain with Klecko.
Yeah, he
and I were the two guys on defense, and when I got called into Coach Michael's office, I thought they were trading me. So I'm sitting in there, and say, "Coach, want to see you." Oh my goodness, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And when I get in there and I saw Klecko, and then I saw Joe Fields, I said, and I saw Marvin Powell. I said, okay, something else. Something good. And when I found out that I was named the defensive captain, which I had never been named before in no level, it was an honor.
Not even like high school, college? No, never.
High school, college, no. I was never defensive captain or none of that.
How did the sack exchange is going to get all the notoriety on this documentary, and we'll learn a lot of things maybe that we didn't know about the way everything worked together. But I mean, there's 11 players on the defense. It's not just the four guys up front. What was the nature of how the whole defense worked together? Not just the guys up front, but how did everything? Because you had in the middle you had the Greg Buttles and Lance Mills of the world, and you guys in the secondary. How did the whole what was the synergy with the whole defense like?
Well, we knew that first of all, if you know how football works, everybody's dependent on everyone. It's not one guy is going to be it. It was a team honor. Sack exchange, I felt I was a part of the sack exchange, and I was.
Yeah.
But my job was the way we worked well together. They put so much pressure, pass wise and run. They didn't just look for sacks. That and if we covered our guys the amount of time that we're supposed to, that creates sacks. If they rush the quarterback, that creates interceptions. So that's why I had a lot of interceptions. Darryl Ray had a lot of interceptions. Lance Mayer had a lot.
Yeah.
Because
including those two in the Raider playoff game that sealed that deal.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking to Bobby Jackson. He's in studio, the former Jet, the ESPN 30 for 30 on the sack exchange is going to debut on ESPN tomorrow night. I don't know if this bothers guys like you that were on that team, but it still bothers me, and I bring it up every time I talk to you or to Marty or to Joe, whatever. But the AFC Championship game in Miami.
I knew you were going to bring that up.
I'm sorry.
That's so
because there's people keep bringing it up to me, so I'm like, you know what? I'll just pass it along next time I talk to one of the guys. That I fell in love with football watching you guys in the late 70s, early 80s. I mean, that was how I grew up falling in love with football. And I've only cried a couple of times in my life watching my teams play. The AFC Championship game was one of the days that I cried. again, I think it's okay for a grown man to admit that he cried. I'm still pissed off about how that whole thing went down.
Me too.
And listen, I know the field was the same for both teams that day at the Orange Bowl. What was the feeling of the guys going into the game, knowing that Shula ordered that the tarp would not cover the field all week? It was a quagmire. It was the mud bowl, whatever you want to call it. Well, not after the fact, but before the game, did you guys know you were in trouble?
Oh yeah, because typically when the routine is Saturday, we have a walkthrough at the complex. We load up, we go straight from there to the airport, and we fly to our destination. We go directly to the stadium to check the field conditions so we can know what equipment to wear. And when we went straight to the hotel, I knew something was wrong then. I said, okay. And then we didn't see the field until, how you go get dressed and go for pregame warm-up. And I didn't go out right away. I went out later on, and I was just shocked.
So the Dolphins said you can't go see the field. You have to go straight to the hotel. Did they
No. I don't know how the message was relayed to the team, but I'm saying when we landed, got on the bus, we went straight to the hotel, which normally you would go to the venue. And
so the Dolphins must have said to the Jets, the stadium's not available. You can't go in there and see it.
Right. Something like that had to happen. And when I went, the first time I saw the field, Peter, was when I went out for, let me go do my little pregame thing, and I went, and my ankles was up in water. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my goodness, I got to go back in and change my cleats. And I got the three longer ones in the front, and the short ones in the back, because you can't put short ones in the back of your knee, you can get caught. And like you said, the Dolphins, that was the first time the Dolphins beat us 3 times that year.
Yeah.
We had beaten them twice every year up to that point. So after we beat the Raiders, we upset them after we beat Bengals in the opener.
Yeah.
We felt Dolphins, we got them.
That's it, no problem.
We got them. Not no problem, we own them.
Yeah.
And but when they did what they did, they sabotaged the game. Then they put the rule that you got to have a tarp. It's too late for us.
Yeah.
I never got that close again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it sucked. It really did. I hate that. And I'm sorry. I hope we're still friends, even though I brought that up. Yeah.
Okay, hey, no, we should. But the one caveat before we move on, after the game, they came and interviewed me, and I was, what's the word, politically correct. Hey, they played on the same field as we, like you said. But the best moment of that was my son, Robert, he was probably like 7, was sitting right next to me when they interviewed me. I got a picture of us when they're talking to me. And I treasure that picture because I'm saying he doesn't even really know what's going on.
Yeah.
At this particular moment. And I'll tell him when he's old enough, which he is now.
Yeah. Peter was home crying. This Peter was, how old was I? It's 82, so I was 15 years old. You live and learn.
Yeah.
I can't let you go without asking you about the current Jets. And obviously this season was such a huge disappointment. With Aaron being healthy and the expectations of going to the playoffs. And now obviously they're looking for a GM. They're looking for a coach. Are you interested in the GM job?
Absolutely not.
No.
No.
I knew that was going to be the answer. He doesn't want to be bothered with that. He's got a good life going on right now.
Yes.
Just your thoughts as an alum on the current state of the Jets and where do you think they go?
It can only go up. I mean, I read an article today where Brett Favre. He's on my mind, because of
because I didn't get to that too. So we'll let everybody watch. But, you've seen it on social media.
It was brought up. Bring me back to it. I've lost my train of thought real quick.
Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, Aaron Rodgers talked about the Jets being snake bitten or cursed or whatever.
Cursed, he used the word.
No, we're not cursed. We just didn't have what it takes to win. All the teams go through the same thing we went through. But at this particular point, it's not a curse, as the receiver from Ohio State said as well. It's just a matter of not having the right players, having untimely injuries, and some people not performing up to expectation.
Yeah,
so
I just think they were poorly coached for the last
that
2
could
seasons.
Have been too.
I think they were
could have been that too.
They were absolutely poorly coached. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you a question about Florida State. And for those who don't know, Bobby Jackson was Bobby Bowden's first NFL draft pick at Florida State.
Yeah.
You told me that once before. And I know it's got to kill you what happened to them this year because there was such big expectations before the season. What do you think about your alma mater so far?
Well, more last year was a disappointment by them not being in the playoffs because they've lost the quarterback that the Jets now have.
Yeah.
Hopefully he'll be in the picture next year. But
I hope so. I like him.
Yeah, I think he'll be a good
Jordan Travis.
Yeah, Jordan Travis. But no, obviously it just brought me back to when my freshman year we were 1-10, and by the time I left we were champions. Bowden's first championship year, and obviously 3 national championships after that. So obviously I'm still a proud FSU alum, always will be, and hopefully they'll get things back in order so that we'll be in the conversation next year.
I can't thank you enough for spending part of the day with us here and coming down and talking about the Sack Exchange, the Jets, and your career. And obviously, it's still, we'll end where we started with Abdul Salam. And if anybody from the Jets is watching, this man needs to be in the Ring of Honor. All Jet fans, just write to the Jets. Put the pressure on social media. Sometimes fans, as much as fans think they don't have a voice, I think sometimes they do. And I know for a fact Woody Johnson pays close attention to social media. So let's hammer the Jets nicely. Let's be nice about it.
Exactly.
This is not an angry thing. This is a good thing. Abdul was the soldier of peace. We'll do this in a peaceful way. Let's go on social media and let's start a big campaign to get Abdul Salam into the Jets Ring of Honor. I can't thank you enough, my friend, for stopping by.
Which is where he belongs.
Absolutely. Former Jet Bobby Jackson. Watch that ESPN 30 for 30 on the Sack Exchange. It debuts tomorrow. When we come back, I'm going to go from one legend to another. We're going to welcome in the former legendary television voice of the New York Islanders, Jiggs McDonald. That's when Sports Bash returns right after this. Hi, I'm Peter Schwartz.
And I'm Vinny Tickets.
We want to take a moment to talk about our fantastic sponsor, the Embassy Diner.
Embassy Diner has been a beloved staple in the restaurant industry for over 50 years. And the great thing about it is when you walk through the door, you're not a customer, you are family. Every visit promises to be filled with warmth, love, and respect.
And here's an extra treat. If you mention Sports Bash during your visit, you enjoy a free dessert on the Embassy Diner.
Come on down to the Embassy Diner, where great food and great company are always on the menu.
Visit the Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage. Hi, I'm Peter.
In 1982, the Marty Lyons Foundation began with a single heartfelt mission: to bring moments of joy and hope to critically ill children by granting wishes that make their dreams come true. Since that day, we have touched the lives of over 8,500 families, raising over $43 million to grant wishes that offer a beacon of light in their darkest times. These precious wishes cost an average of $6,700 each. And your support is crucial to our mission. Every donation, big or small, makes a difference. And with 76 cents of every dollar going directly to supporting our families, you can rest assured your support truly changes lives. The Marty Lyons Foundation operates 11 chapters in 14 states now, working tirelessly to reach as many children as we can. This dedication goes hand in hand with our commitment to transparency and accountability, earning us top ratings on Charity Navigator, Great Nonprofits, and Candid, which underscores our dedication to those we serve. The Marty Lyons Foundation grants wishes to children ages 3 to 17. And what really makes this foundation so special is our willingness to grant not only a first wish, but also consider a second wish to a child who continues to battle a life-threatening illness. We stand by these children, offering them hope and strength through the power of dreams, giving our children the courage to wish for more.
What's your purpose in life? Is your purpose in life to live in the big house and drive the nice car? No. Your purpose in this life is to make it a little bit better for those that follow and realize that we live for today to see a better tomorrow.
Visit MartyLyonsFoundation.org to learn more and get involved.
Welcome back to Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com. I'm Peter Schwartz. This segment of Sports Bash is presented by the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund, a group of like-minded individuals trying to raise awareness to our future generations of all possibilities of success other than just college. For more information, visit www.lookwhomadeit.org. Welcome back to the show again. Thanks to Bobby Jackson for joining me on the show. That's outstanding. Looking forward to seeing the Jets Sack Exchange 30 for 30 on ESPN tomorrow. That brings us now to our next guest. And I tweeted about this a little bit yesterday in promoting that he was going to be on the show. So I want to show everybody this, if you can see it in my screen. Tony, I'm going to hold it up a little bit longer. So this is a program from an Islander game I went to, as Tony tries to play around with the video camera. This is a program I got during the 81-82 season, was at an Islander game, and if you can see close enough, there is an autograph on the front of this. And I wandered over to the Sports Channel broadcast area, and a guy by the name of Jiggs McDonald, who was the Islanders TV announcer a long time, was nice enough to sign this magazine for me, and at that time I already knew I wanted to get into broadcasting, and then as the years went on, he became a very big inspiration, and I'm very, very lucky now, all these years later, to call him a friend, the Hall of Fame broadcaster for the New York Islanders, Jiggs McDonald, my next guest here on the show. Jiggs, how are you, my friend?
I'm fine, Peter. Thank you.
How about, for all these years later, let me thank you again for signing the magazine. It's one of the most cherished items in my sports memorabilia collection.
Is the signature legible?
Absolutely it is. Yeah, Jiggs in quotation marks and McDonald. And for those who don't know, your real first name is Ken. So, but yeah, you always signed the Jiggs McDonald.
John Kenneth.
John Kenneth.
Yeah.
Okay.
To quote Jack Kent Cooke, as fine a name as he'd ever heard. However, it had no recall value. But that's a story for another day.
That's a story for another day. Well, thank you very much for spending some time. And there were a number of reasons why I wanted to have you on. And obviously, number one, as I told you, in a few weeks, about a month or so from now, the Islanders are going to add a name to their Hall of Fame banner. Brent Sutter is going to go into the Hall of Fame on January 18th. When the Islanders take on the San Jose Sharks that night. And obviously it's going to be a wonderful evening for Islander fans, everybody associated with the Islanders franchise. And obviously you were around for the start and ending of his Islanders career. Of course, we'll always remember the day he was traded to the Chicago Blackhawks was the same day that the Islanders traded Pat LaFontaine to the Buffalo Sabres. But what are your thoughts on Brent Sutter going into the Islanders Hall of Fame and what kind of a career he had for the Isles?
I couldn't be happier for Brent. A great guy, an intense guy. I mean, Dwayne was already there. Dwayne was the, how can I put this nicely for Dwayne's sake or his wife's sake, his family? He was a bit of a disturber. He was as outgoing as he could be, had an opinion on everything. Brent was so quiet, so intense. Brent was drafted. Well, actually, I hadn't signed anything, hadn't become the broadcaster at the draft in Montreal in 1980. And Brent is drafted, came to training camp, had a good camp, as I recall. And then the team is out west. We're actually in Calgary when he got the call. He's down the road a little bit in Red Deer, of course, playing for the Rebels. Came up, and I think if Al had his way, Al Arbor, he would have stayed with the team that season. He had 3 unbelievable games, 4 points in 3 nights, Calgary, Vancouver, and L.A. 2 shots on goal, 2 goals.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good shooting accuracy.
Yeah, actually, one of them, Peter, was a power play goal too. But yeah, just as intense, as quality, as thorough. At that time, our 2 daughters would babysit for the Sutter brothers, and whoever had Brent would come home, and I'd say, "Brent, say anything on the way home?" Not a word. Wind, blue, storm, didn't matter. Not a word. Dwayne, on the other hand, you'd see the car pull in, and Dwayne, he's talking a mile a minute to whoever was babysitting for Dwayne and Cindy that night. But oh yeah, the Sutter brothers were unreal.
Did this might be a silly question, I'm not sure, but was Brent helped out by the fact that Dwayne was already on the team, or do you think Brent would have been fine in his adjustment to the NHL, even if he didn't have his older brother there?
He would have been fine overall, but I think having Dwayne with the Islanders, and the Islanders, of course, coming up Stanley Cups 80 and 81, just helped him get into that dressing room. He'd established himself at training camp. I think everybody knew just how good he was going to be. And his personality, as I said, very quiet, very intense, but there was a loose side to Brent from time to time. You just never knew when it was going to happen. But quality. I mean, the Sutter family throughout. And you mentioned the trade to Chicago. What a lot of people don't recall is that Steve Thomas, who was very instrumental in the 93 drive, was part of that deal for Brent. Brent and Brad Lauer.
Yes.
And then there was a big, tall defenseman.
Adam Creighton,
yes. Yeah. Good.
Let me tell you something. As much as it hurt that day to see Brent and Pat traded away, ultimately it was good for all the franchises involved, because it Bill Torrey reloaded the Islanders, and it got to that run to the Final Four, and then Don Maloney came along and screwed the whole thing up. But but it all worked out at the end, for the Islanders, at least for that one run to the conference final. What I know Brent was quiet, but what was his general personality like around the team, and how he was there for the last two cups. How important was he to kind of start bridging the gap from that dynasty team to what happened afterward?
Very, very important. He was a teacher, a leader, more than of course. Dwayne was Dog, and Brent was Pup. These were nicknames that had come from back in Viking, Alberta, of course. So Dog was as loose as could be. Brent, on the other hand, sensed what his responsibility, wore the A, of course, and really helped the young kids come along. And I think that is maybe a forerunner to coaching at the junior level, and then at the pro level, of course, with the Devils later on. But he knew where he stood. He knew that the team was at that point where they had to get younger. That trade, actually, with Chicago, you talk about the LaFontaine, Turgeon, Benny Hogue, that Randy Wood, the people involved. Dave McElwain came our way at that time. Randy Hillier, maybe was the other guy, I think, that went to Buffalo that day. But the Brent Sutter to Chicago deal really kind of flew under the radar. The LaFontaine deal for Pierre was really the headline grabber that day.
I think, Jiggs, if I remember correctly, and listen, sometimes I can't remember what I have for breakfast in the morning, but for some reason I remember this, Dave McElwain was traded 3 times that year. He was in all 4 divisions in the same year.
You're probably right. I just running some throttle. Yeah, he probably was.
Yeah, I think he was traded 3 times during the season, or at least maybe within the calendar year. But I thought I remember that about him, that he played in all 4 divisions in that one season. But in any event, I digress. So we're very happy that Brent Sutter is going into the Hall of Fame. And of course, I can't mention the Islanders Hall of Fame without thinking that you need to be in the Hall of Fame, and Pat LaFontaine needs to be in the Hall of Fame now too. So we have to start carrying. We were talking with Bobby Jackson a little bit earlier on about the Jets, how Abdul Salam belongs in the Ring of Honor. Well, we're now going to start carrying the banner for you and Pat LaFontaine to be the next two going into the Islander Hall of Fame.
Patty number 1. Pat LaFontaine absolutely has to be there. Should be there. There should be no question about it whatsoever. The other guy, for my dime's worth, Stefan Persson.
Yes.
Steph absolutely meant so much to that franchise. But yes, let's start with Pat. we'll get number 16 up there, and then we'll go from there. But no, hey, my years with the Islander family were wonderful, memorable. Thank you very much.
Yeah. The other name, too, is I think Roy Bowe should be on that banner, too, for bringing NHL hockey to Long Island.
Excellent. Great idea. Yes. Having been the original owner, applying for that franchise, getting the deal done with Clarence Campbell and the National Hockey League. Yeah. Good one.
Absolutely. We're talking to Jiggs McDonald. We talked a lot about Brent Sutter going into the Islanders Hall of Fame. It's easy to ask you, and we've talked about this, probably ad nauseum a lot over the years. Obviously, it was wonderful to be part of the Islander Stanley Cup dynasty, and you had some other great, moments, calling play-by-play, whether it was the Easter Epic or Follick's goal against the Penguins. But give me one or two moments with you at the microphone next to 18, Eddie Westfall, like one or two under the radar moments that stick out for you during your time with the Islanders.
Well, you've nailed most of them. The Bob Bourne rink length goal. Yep. I mean, from the far boards through everybody, put the puck in the net. He had a night in Washington that was excellent. I'm just going to tie the Sutters in here.
Okay.
Islanders at Washington. I don't believe it was a playoff game, but the late Brian Murray, coaching the Caps, had a bit of a lisp, and Dwayne Sutter knew it. The Caps are down, I think, by 3 goals, and at the end of the period, here's Dwayne, shoulder to shoulder with Brian as he's leaving the ice, and Brian is mimicking, or at least Dwayne, I'm sorry, is mimicking Brian. Your team is really having a terrible period. And Brian, you could tell, you could see the crimson coming up his neck from way up in the broadcast area. And I'm thinking, what is dog doing? You could tell that Brian just wanted to level him. But yeah, that was Dwayne. Whereas Brent would have just skated off, pleased, of course, with the 3-goal lead or whatever it may have been. But the Sutter brothers, night and day.
How about
other memories? I guess would be. There are just so many Islander moments and memories, especially playoff games against the Rangers when they're at the Garden the night they hit on Pat LaFontaine. And
the Ranger fans were shaking the bus outside the Garden.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it was like you're running the gauntlet trying to get out of there. And then, of course, Pat ends up in a Ranger uniform and finishes his career. It just, I could go on and on, Peter, but you nailed the highlights of the.
I think the Tonelli goal against Colorado to get to the 15-game winning streak was pretty good too.
Yes, it was. Yeah. You can put that one right up there, and then of course lost I think the next night in Pittsburgh, if I recall correctly. That series with Pittsburgh in the first round of the playoffs when they won at home so easily, and then it was the best of 5 series. Went to Pittsburgh, lost in overtime, had to stay over. We'd already checked out of the hotel, checked back in, Sunday night game, lose, come home, and to be down and then win in overtime. It just and almost lost it. I think it was Mike Bullard had that great chance on Spitty down to our left. And then the play comes back the other way and the puck goes in the net. And thank you very much. On to the next round and Stanley Cup number 3.
I was watching that game with my dad, Jiggs, Game 5, and the down 3-1. And I remember turning to him and saying, Dad, it can't end like this. It's not supposed to end like this. And it didn't, thankfully.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, the other one would be the only year that the league saw it necessary to play that 2-3-2 series, and that, of course, is what ended the Islander run. I think it was probably due to the number of injuries and players that had just given everything they had. There wasn't another ounce of juice left. But you can blame the National Hockey League, in my opinion. The only time, 2-3-2, 2 at home, 3 there, and after losing a game at home, you knew you were in trouble.
Let me close with this. I got to ask you about the current Islanders, and obviously they've had some issues early on this season. I think Patrick Waugh has done probably as good a job as he could possibly do keeping the team afloat. They've won a couple of games recently, but they got a whole series of injuries. The good news is Matt Barzal, Anthony Duclair, and Adam Pelech are all back skating on their own, so I think their returns are imminent. Give me your little thumbnail sketch on this year's Islanders, and if they get everybody back healthy, can they make some noise?
They can make some noise. I think they'll be a little bit better than a 500 team, but the key is get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
As you know, anything can happen. You don't have to win the President's Trophy. You don't have to be the number one team in any particular division. Just make that postseason dance and go from there. This may have been a blessing in disguise to see what some other people can do. People have filled in some cases very admirably, I think. And like you said, Patrick's done a great job with this, the lineup that he has. Lou, on the other hand, I'm sure would like to make a trade or two to get some scoring, but up against that payroll cap, there's just, you have to find a trade partner, and obviously there isn't one out there right now. Everybody's looking for scoring, it seems. And hopefully with Matt Barzal and Anthony Duclair back in the lineup, the front end will take care of itself, and you get the Pelech back in that lineup and Pollock and so on. They have found that there are some kids with good potential already on the horizon, so to speak. But
Isaiah George has been outstanding so far,
hasn't he? Yes.
Yeah,
very impressive. And I think too, Romanov hasn't been 100%.
Right.
When you get him healthy to the level that he has been at in the past, I think the hockey club will be better. And again, may just squeak in and take their chances from there, Peter.
It's kind of like the lottery, Jiggs. You got to be in it to win it. So let's just
Exactly.
keep our fingers crossed. I can't thank you enough. It's always great to catch up and talk to you. Happy holidays to you and your family, and hope we can do this again, and hope to see you here on Long Island at some point.
You never know when I'll show up. Yes, happy holidays to you. Best of the season. Enjoy.
Thanks, Jiggs. Jiggs McDonald, legendary TV voice of the New York Islanders. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be joined by John Fitzgerald, the head coach of the American Soccer Club New York, new team that's going to start play this coming spring. We're going to play Stump the Wiz this week in sports history and look at the Sports Bash Media poll question of the day. That's all when we're coming back right after this. Schwartz.
And I'm Vinny Tickets.
We want to take a moment to talk about our fantastic sponsor, the Embassy Diner.
Embassy Diner has been a beloved staple in the restaurant industry for over 50 years. And the great thing about it is when you walk through the door, you're not a customer, you are family. Every visit promises to be filled with warmth, love, and respect.
And here's an extra treat. If you mention Sports Bash during your visit, you enjoy a free dessert on the Embassy Diner.
Come on down to the Embassy Diner, where great food and great company are always on the menu.
Visit the Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage. Hi, I'm Peter Schwartz.
Living Legends Memorabilia and Collectibles is the best place to find autographed entertainment and sports memorabilia. We guarantee the authenticity of each and every item in our shop to provide you with quality collectibles anytime you browse our inventory. Our memorabilia includes autographed photos, sports equipment, jerseys, hats, and other paraphernalia from current athletes and legendary sports stars. If you prefer the entertainment industry, we have signed posters, albums, and photographs from classic movie stars and today's celebrities. To give back to our community, we participate in fundraising auctions for local charities. Call us today to request a specific autograph, find a special gift for someone else, or schedule an event. Living Legends Memorabilia and Collectibles. Living Legends Memorabilia and Collectibles is the best place to find autographed entertainment and sports memorabilia. We guarantee
Welcome back to Sports Bash, presented by Ticketbash.com and the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund. I'm Peter Schwartz, 516-465-6666. 3990 is the number to call. Make sure you're subscribing to Govs Comedy Club Podcast on YouTube and following us on Facebook. Thanks again to Jiggs McDonald for joining me on the show. And earlier in the show, Bobby Jackson, former Jet, and to really put the icing on the cake on what has been an action-packed show today. This coming spring, Long Island will welcome its newest professional sports franchise. It is American Soccer Club of New York, and they have been staggering some big announcements, and the next big one took place earlier today with the naming of John Fitzgerald as the first head coach in franchise history. John and I worked together a little bit with the New York Cosmos. I want to say congratulations, John, and thank you for joining us here on Sports Bash.
Thanks, Peter. It's a pleasure to be here. Excited to get going with this new venture.
It's always exciting when you start a new club in any sport. It doesn't matter. Your excitement level, and you've been a part of some startups before. What's different about American Soccer Club New York, and how excited are you for this opportunity?
I think the vibe is a little different compared to some of the ones I've been with before. Apart from the Cosmos, who, as you said, you were part of that too, and it's an extremely professional organization. This group of people involved are very professional, and I feel good from top to bottom, putting my name to it and working with them. So I'm really excited because I think we have a good vision going forward, and we're all kind of paddling in the same direction, and it feels very positive and upbeat.
Last week I had managing partner and general manager Jim Kilmeade on the show. Jim and I go way back, and he brought some gifts last week, so I'm going to commemorate our little interview here by putting on this NPSL scarf that he gave me last week. I got to take the headset off. Just give me 1 second here. It's the live television. Here we go. Now that looks a lot better. So the Cosmos, at the end of their run, had a B team that played in the NPSL, and I always felt, even at the end there, the level of soccer in that league was so good. I mean, it's just, it's like in any sport. I mean, there's so many players that can go around at the top level, but that doesn't mean that there aren't good players at other levels of the sport. And I thought the level of play in the NPSL was really, really good. How excited are you to see what lies ahead for your club and the rest of the league going forward now?
Yeah, super excited. That team, especially as you recall, NASL was thriving for several years again, for the second round that they came back. So our team, a lot of players wanted to come to us, a lot of international players especially wanted to come to us because that was going to be their path to the first team. At least they were hoping for that. So the level of our team itself was very good, but the league across the board, I hadn't been involved with them before that, and it was extremely impressive to me. And the competition was tough. And then now, some of those people who were running the league back then, I mean, Cindy Spera, to name one, she's a managing director with the league now. She was an assistant to the commissioner back then. She's still involved with the league. She's brought in some other people to join her who have also been playing in the game. Cindy had played. Matter of fact, she played for me back in the day. She's from Long Island, and she was a terrific player. But the people involved at the administrative level, the fact that they've been on the field, they know what it takes to be a player of that level. So when they're leading the way, you feel good about having people in charge of the league that kind of have a vision of where this league should go. And from everything I know about the league, I think there's 92 teams in the country. Last I checked, it's most of the teams are very high level, and these are guys that are looking to go even further up. So these players have a lot of incentive to do well here.
John Fitzgerald is my guest. He is the head coach of the brand new American Soccer Club New York that will play in the NPSL starting May of 2025. And when you think about Long Island soccer, I mean, there's such a rich tradition, whether it was the Cosmos, you go back to the New York Arrows and the Long Island Rough Riders, and there's so many great players have come from Long Island. We just saw the Nealis brothers playing with the Red Bulls on their way to playing in the MLS Cup. And I know that was what Jimmy tried to put together with the Rough Riders, local players, local talent. And I know that's going to be an emphasis here with American Soccer Club New York. Can you kind of speak to the level of soccer, youth soccer here on Long Island, and the player pool that you'll have a chance to dip into?
Yeah, sure. So, I coach in college for 28 years total. So recruiting is kind of, second nature. So as soon as we talked about this going forward and they asked me to coach, I started recruiting already. And it's all local talent, or mostly local talent who I'm speaking to, because as you just said, we're very rich in talent in this area. We have about 100,000 kids playing soccer on Long Island. And about half of those kids, about 50,000, are part of the Long Island Junior Soccer League, which is where I also work now. And so a lot of these players that we're going to be looking at have come up through the league, including myself. I started playing at 5 years old on Long Island, and by 8 years old, I was part of this league, playing for my local hometown in Hicksville, and that's where my youth career was. Yeah, all right, good. Somebody else from Hicksville, I love it. And, you always go back to your roots. But the players.
That's my producer. That's my producer, Tony Walker.
Perfect. Tony, he didn't tell me to say that, by the way, so that was natural. But it's something that is pretty holistic here on Long Island. Soccer is just part of the youth sports environment here, and so that's where we're drawing a lot of our players from.
What's next for you guys? I know the stadium announcement, at least the temporary stadium announcement, is going to be coming up very, very soon, and then you're going to start obviously putting the roster together. What's the timeline like here in the next few weeks as you round out 2024 and get into 2025?
Well, if you could put the treadmill on the fastest that it can go and then jump on it, that's the timeline, basically. So our tryout, we do have a tryout date, which is January 4th. Okay. That's our first tryout. Love to put that out there as much as possible, because the club will be putting that out. But as media-wise, things get put out, like you said, the last few days, things in order. So they just officially put me out. So now the tryout date will go out. So once that's our first tryout, we'll see what we get there as far as players who maybe we haven't spoken to yet. The reason I picked that date is a lot of players will be home from college. Mm-hmm. And this league has a mix of college and non-college players. So a lot of players will be home for the break. As long as they see that, then they know to put aside that day and come out that afternoon and show us what they have. Then we'll pick a second date, which will be short after that, soon after that. And really, the league starts mid-May. So we'll need to get training at least sometime early to mid-April.
I know the team nickname is going to be announced at some point soon, and Jim told me that if he told me what the name of the team was, he would have to kill me. So I didn't ask any further. But I am under the impression that it is Long Island centric, and that if you're a Long Island sports fan, you're really going to like it. So would you agree with that?
I would, and Jimmy gave me the same mantra as he gave you. They're not. He says, "Don't slip to Peter and say anything. We're not ready to put it out." Okay.
Let me close with this, John. And obviously, all the attention is on American Soccer Club New York and going forward. But we kind of touched on this earlier. We both worked at the Cosmos together. You were in coaching and scouting and player development and all that stuff. And I was the measly PA announcer and had a chance. It was wonderful. I grew up going to Cosmos games with my dad, so a chance to work for the Cosmos when they came back and being at the PA mic when they won a couple of those soccer bowls there during that reboot was just awesome. Can you kind of put into words what it was like to work for the Cosmos? And obviously it was sad the way it ended.
Yeah, that's probably one of the best experiences I've had in my soccer career so far. To work with a professional club like that, they truly did things the right way. I mean, they had an office on Fifth Avenue in the city. We had our offices in Garden City on Long Island. Mm-hmm. They gave me the keys to say, look, go run this thing on the youth side, try to grow it. They had started. Other people had gotten it started before I got there, so they opened the door. But we were able to really put it on steroids and take off, and it was exciting. And then to be able to be part of our reserve team. So like in baseball, to put it in perspective for people, that's like your AAA team, right?
Right.
So to be able to be part of that, I was super excited. Plus, to do that, I had to also be in with first team trainings to know what they're working on. So head coach Gio Savarese, not only was he a friend, but he was also a mentor, and he was somebody who was so welcoming to people to come in and work with, and so we could translate easily to the players who we were working with, what the first team was looking for. It was awesome. It's hard to explain the experience. And as you said, we won a couple of championships with our first team, which just to be a little part of that was so super exciting. And then in our NPSL championship game, when we won in 2015, we had 18,000 fans in Chattanooga when we went down there to play. It was just an electric atmosphere.
Do you think I need to submit my resume to Jimmy and to you for the PA job with ASC New York, or do you think my past speaks for itself?
Listen, I remember listening to you so many times, Peter. So as far as I'm concerned, you're the guy. I'll put the word in and see if Jimmy okays it, but I think he'll be okay with it.
I would hope so. John, congratulations again, and best of luck with American Soccer Club New York, and happy holidays to you and your family.
You too. Thanks for having me on.
You got it. John Fitzgerald, the head coach of American Soccer Club New York, starting play in the NPSL this coming May here on Long Island at a venue still to be determined. Tony is going to hate me once again because I know we're going to run a couple of minutes over because we had an action-packed show, and now we want to welcome in Whiz Kid, Vinny Laspinuso, because it's time to play Stump the Whiz. Before we get started, I know you were chomping at the bit to talk about Abdul Salam when Bobby Jackson was here.
Oh, you know it.
So, Abdul Salam, yes or no in the Jet Ring of Honor?
Absolutely. No question. If you're going to focus on, sack exchange, and you show the same four guys over and over and over again, if you have three of them in, but yet one's missing out, you're doing a bit of a disservice to him. You got to put Abdul Salam in, even though he's not around anymore. Do something for the fans. Do something for his family. And listen, the Jets really need this. It has not been a good season.
No, we could use a little, as we say in the Jewish tribe, a little nachas, a little bit for the Jets with all the Michigas we've been through.
Yes, you've been with a lot of Michigas.
Yes, and really quick, Mark Gastineau, yes or no in Canton?
Definitely.
Okay, good. I trust you with that. It is time to play Stump the Whiz. You can submit your best sports trivia questions to the Sports Bash Media X/Twitter page. If we picked your question today and you stumped the guy sitting to my left now, you will win 2 tickets to see the Islanders take on the Ottawa Senators on January 14th at UBS Arena. Our contestant today is Sylvia Katz from Jackson Heights. Are you ready? Here's the question. Tony, we have 2 minutes on the clock. Here we go. No, not away. I didn't say away we go. Just here we go. He's got his hands up. He's going to smack me upside my head. Who was the first player in NHL history to record 100 points in a season? First player in NHL history to record 100 points in the season. 2 minutes on the clock. And away we go.
Definitely feels like it's an older player. I'm going to start out with maybe just throwing Gordie Howe out there.
That would be incorrect.
I had a feeling it wasn't him. So, I'm guessing this is a very old player, I'm assuming.
Well, he's probably very older now, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm assuming I'm guessing by that standard he's dead, right?
No, he's not dead.
Okay, so
he's not dead. He's still with us.
Oh, he's still with us. He's not dead. I'm going to say...
Looks like we got 1 minute and 23.
Correct. Does he play for the original 6 team?
He did.
Okay. Is he mostly known for that team or no?
Well, he played for multiple original 6 teams.
Okay. But was it just the original 6 era or afterwards? Because I know it had to have been...
How many hints do you want me to give you? It's not the way this works.
I know.
1 minute to go. I've already given you more hints than you probably should have.
Okay.
Tony, you believe this?
No.
Right, and you've only dealt with this for a few months here. I mean, like, this is...
Not Bobby Orr, is it?
It's not Bobby Orr, no.
If it's multiple, then it would not be him.
Well, he did play for the Blackhawks, too, so it could have been him, yeah.
Glenn Hall, I think?
Glenn Hall was a goalie.
Why did his name come to my mind?
I don't know, but maybe this guy scored goals on that guy, but,
Yeah, probably did. Probably scored some on Tony Esposito also, probably, I would assume. Wouldn't be Phil, I don't think so.
Maybe you want to try it.
Phil Esposito?
That's correct. 15 seconds on the clock.
I had a feeling
as soon as you said Tony Esposito, I'm like, he's not going to even get Tony Esposito's brother? Outstanding job.
I had a feeling I had a feeling in the back of my head, was it Phil Esposito? But I wasn't entirely sure.
See, but here's the thing. Now I feel bad for Sylvia because you kind of coerced me into so many hints that we're still going to give Sylvia Katz from Jackson Heights the 2 tickets to the Islander game.
Why not? I mean, hey, I would still do the same thing. And there's nothing.
By the way, it was 126 points. Not only did he get 100 points, he obliterated it.
Yeah, I knew
126 during the 1968-69 season.
Yeah, I had a feeling he was definitely one of them. I wasn't entirely sure he was one of the first ones. I knew he was probably one of the first. I wasn't sure if he was the first.
The next hint would have probably been he was in a Sassoon pants commercial. Was probably going to be the next clue. Well, you're not old enough to remember the Rangers with Ron Duguay and Phil Esposito and who else? Who the other Rangers were in that commercial? It was Ron Duguay. It was Phil Esposito. Oh, Anders Hedberg, I think, was in that.
I think he was.
I think Anders Hedberg was in that.
But they threw other sports in there too. Wasn't Bucky Dent a part of that?
Well, there might have been a separate commercial, but there were like 4 Rangers in that Sassoon commercial. In any event, doesn't matter. It's the Rangers. Who gives a crap? It's the Rangers. Who cares? This week in sports history.
Well, this week in 2016, Louisville Cardinals quarterback Lamar Jackson became the youngest person to win the Heisman Trophy at the age of 19 in his sophomore year. And, of course, he had over 50 touchdowns, both rushing and passing, or 500 yards combined. And as we all know, he's been a godsend for the Baltimore Ravens. 2 MVPs, might win his 3rd this year. The Ravens are, like usual, it feels like, a consistent playoff contender. And, yeah, he's been phenomenal.
Yeah, see, I can't root for him because here's the thing with the Ravens. Like, I have such a distaste for them.
Why?
Because my friend Robert Friedman, he lives in Baltimore. He grew up with me in East Meadow. Me and Rob used to ride our bicycles every day to Jets training camp at Hofstra. Every day. That was our summer camp. We would ride our bicycles to Hofstra to watch the Jet training camp. And we went to Jet games. And he shared season tickets with me. Then he moves to Baltimore and marries his lovely wife, Lisa, right? But after he moves to Baltimore, he threw the Jets under the proverbial bus. And he became a Ravens fan. So I call him the biggest fraud sports fan in history because by the way, also, you've seen that clip at the NFL draft with me booing the Jets draft pick, wearing my Jets Zubas and my Dennis Bird jersey. And we booed the Johnny Mitchell pick together in the balcony at the Marriott Marquis. So he moves to Baltimore and just throws the Jets under the bus completely. Now, to me, like, I don't care where you move. You grow up rooting for your teams. You stick with your teams all the time. Like, my brother-in-law moved to San Francisco and now to Philadelphia, and he still stays with his teams. I know my dear friend who used to work at WFAN, Ray Martell, is originally from Boston. He moved to New York for his career in radio. Now he's with 10 Cent Wins. But he never ditched the Red Sox, the Bruins, the Celtics, and the Patriots. So, like, there's the team I hate the most in the NFL are the Miami Dolphins. The next team after that are the Baltimore Ravens because of my best friend, who I love like a brother. But the fact that he threw the Jets under the bus, anytime somebody brings up the Baltimore Ravens to me, I want to, like, puke.
Wow. I thought it would be because...
Did you ever think that was going to be on your bingo card today, that I would be so angry at the Baltimore Ravens?
No, I knew you had a disdain against the Orioles for that reason. I
don't really have a disdain towards the Orioles. The Orioles have done nothing to me. What have they done? We beat them in the 96 playoffs.
Well, what have the Ravens done to you?
They took my best friend away from my football team.
Well, to be fair, it wasn't them. It was more so the Jets, if anything, I would argue.
No, it was not. But doesn't matter. You stick with your team. Like, that's what I tell my kids. Like, listen, I apologize to them profusely that I made them a Jet fan and my wife made them a Jet fans. But you stick with your team because eventually, at some point, well, maybe not with the Jets. I mean, at some point, things got to get good, right? But see, Robert took the easy way out. He just said, you know what? I have this built-in excuse. I just moved to Baltimore. I have this built-in excuse to now drop the Jets like a bad habit. Basically, a suplex off the top rope. And he's got. It really pisses me off that he's now got 2 Super Bowls.
Do you want a great way to try to get some catharsis is getting Abdul Salam in the Ring of Honor?
That would help. That would help.
That's what I would
Mark
say.
Gastineau in the Hall of Fame.
Larry Grantham in the Hall of Fame too. He needs to be in that also.
We could talk about that. Listen, if it's good for me, then I'm willing to talk about it.
10-time All-Pro. That's all I got to say.
Sports Bash Media poll question of the day presented by Living Legends Memorabilia and Collectibles at 124 South Long Beach Road in Rockville Center, Long Island's go-to store for sports, entertainment, and political memorabilia since 1996. They're also available for charity auctions. Give Warren a call at 516-826-4000. We post a new question every weekday on the Sports Bash Media X/Twitter page. Today's question, this goes for every Yankee fan out there watching and listening. Are you confident the Yankees will be able to get back to the World Series in 2025? And my answer is yes. That's the two choices, yes or no. My answer is yes, because I think the Yankees already started recovering from losing Juan Soto. They got Max Fried. I think they're going to get some of these other guys to fill some positions. So I think the Yankees will be back in the World Series next year. They may be playing the Mets in the World Series. We'll see.
I think the Yankees definitely have what it takes to go back to the World Series, especially getting Max Fried, helping out that pitching rotation. I'm not entirely sure if they will make it, but I would definitely say they are definitely a playoff team coming 2025.
I thought about going to the Juan Soto press conference today. I could have gone, which is at 3 o'clock today. They're going to unveil Juan Soto. And then I decided, I want to enjoy my afternoon. So I decided after the show, I'm going to go home and, just relax before I go to work at WFAN tonight. Oh. You think I should have gone?
Yeah.
Nah. Here was the other problem. I hate to complain, but why not? You got me on it. Or I got myself on it, actually. If I left from here and went right to Citi Field for the press conference at 3 o'clock, probably there for like an hour, hour and a half tops, I got to work at FAN tonight.
Oh,
so now, it's stupid to go all the way back home and then drive back or take the train into the city. If I then drove from Citi Field into Manhattan, I can't park in front of FAN until 7 o'clock.
Well,
so I just think I'm concerned with making my life as easy as possible.
Oh,
and I think the easier answer was just to come home.
That's fair. I think that's fair.
Go home, have a snack. I'll watch the press conference on TV. There you go.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Though. Obviously you got to factor in all those things as well. It's not just the press conference. There's nothing else. Obviously, we all have lives.
The Living Legends item of the week, we talked about it on Tuesday as well. This Aaron Judge signed baseball. It comes with a full certificate of authenticity, so give Warren a call at 516-826-4000 at Living Legends, and they will take great care of you. Don't forget to mention Sports Bash and get that free autographed photo at our great friends at Living Legends. So thank you very much for your contributions. Very nice today.
Appreciate it.
Let's tell everybody about what I think is a very exciting week coming up next week. And Tony is breathing a deep sigh of relief because he knows I'm about to wrap it up, and then he can go on with the rest of his day as well. Next week on Sports Bash, a lot of fun. Tuesday, the first installment of what we are calling, and again, this is not a dictatorship, it's a democracy. The initial thought of this is FOP, Friends of Peter. We're going to do this from time to time where a friend of mine in the business, whether sports, news, entertainment, is going to sit in with me for the whole hour and host the show with me. So the first installment of that is on Tuesday, and my good, longtime, dear friend, Amy McGorry from News 12 is going to be my co-host for the hour. Now, not only does she work at News 12, she's a teacher at LIU. She's a physical therapist. She writes for FoxNews.com, medical stories. So many things to cover with Amy on Tuesday. Looking forward to that. She sent me a text message today. She's a little nervous about this on Tuesday. Like, what are you nervous about? And she's like, well, what are we going to talk about? I'm like, we'll have a fun time for an hour. We'll talk about some sports. I don't know if she's watching the show today, but I have this thing with news people, and maybe she can answer the question, maybe she can't. You ever watch the TV news coverage when it's snowing out, when we have a big snowstorm? I watch the news all the time with my wife, Cheryl, at home, especially if we have to keep an eye on whether school is canceled so the kids don't, now Bradley's at college, so we just, who cares? He just got hit. He just got hit at Western Connecticut, just got hit in Danbury a couple of weeks ago with a big storm. So, no, I do care. I'm only joking. But we would always watch the morning news coverage to see, what the cancellations were. And this always happens with news people. We'll talk about it with Amy on Tuesday. They tell you to stay off the roads. And there's Amy driving Thunderbolt 12 down, Seaford Oyster Bay Expressway. And I'm like, what's she doing? She's going to get killed. And then another time we'll see her standing on some, fakakta corner somewhere in Suffolk County, and they're telling, people to be careful when they're out, and she's standing on a corner, and there's cars flying by, and I'm like, oh, geez, she's going to get hit by a car. It's snowing, one of those cars. So anyway, we're going to have some fun with Amy on Tuesday with that, and we'll talk about a bunch of other things. Next Thursday on the show, December 19th, we're going to be talking with a member of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish from Long Island, the pride of Kellenberg High School, long snapper Reno Monteforte, as the Irish get ready to take on Indiana in round 1 of the college football playoff on Friday night. We will talk to Reno on the show on Thursday of next week. I think that's it. Does that cover all the bases, you think? That was an action-packed hour and 10 minutes now, right?
Cover all the bases, pun intended.
All paces. We went from sideline to sideline. We even spent some time on the pitch with American Soccer Club New York. So, we had it all on this show today. That'll do it for this edition of Sports Bash, presented by Ticketbash.com. Thanks to my guests on the show, Jiggs McDonald, Bobby Jackson, and also John Fitzgerald from American Soccer Club New York. Thanks to the guy in red today, Tony Walker, and everyone here at Governor's Comedy Club in Levittown. Thanks to Wiz for his amazing contributions today. Sports Bash presented by Ticketbash.com and the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund. Sports Bash is sponsored by the Embassy Diner in Bethpage, by Living Legends Memorabilia in Rockville Center, by Bearcat Building Service, the Marty Lyons Foundation, and Collaborate Studios. For our entire crew, I'm Peter Schwartz. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. We're back Tuesday at 1.